In fact, we have been books users. I think very recently we got into the books bandwagon. If I remember when I started, when I took over this function and when I joined TCS, book subscription was not enterprise wide. It was about 30,000 users, something like that. And we had a struggle. We were struggling to actually distribute these licenses because we didn't know who's going to use this. Now, I'm sure everybody knows this, that most of the learning does not happen in a formal setting. Most of the learning happens in an informal setting, and we don't know how people learn. People can learn, even while walking, talking to somebody, or reading a book and stuff like that. So we were wondering. In fact, the one big pushback about books was, who is going to read a book cover to cover online? Nobody's going to do that. But now people do that. I mean, you have Kindle and you have your iPad, you have other stuff, and even I'm told that people read books on Blackberries and stuff like that. But then this has been a pushback that people will never read a book cover to cover online. Well, agreed. But at the same time, we were just seeing how our associates look for solutions to problems which they face in their day-to-day work life. Now, when we just informally had a chat with people, most of them would use Google, would search for information on the internet, or they would possibly go to the library, look through books. Typically, we just looked at how much time they spend doing these things. It was an enormous amount of time. Now, so we thought, if it was possible to bring the library to their desktops, if we can bring the library to their desktops where they can do actually a search, not only search for the titles, but do a textual search and get to the exact page of a book where the solution lies. Now that's where books as a solution, Books24x7 fits in. If you look at the usage within TCS, it has been phenomenal. People have been consuming these assets on a daily basis. Most of the time it's used to find solutions for day-to-day problems. It's not about reading a book cover to cover. Not many people read books cover to cover online. But at the same time, we get value in saving time for the associates to find these solutions. And it's well-researched content. It's content which is published. It's gone through an editorial publishing process. So we can say that this content is, it's good. And the kind of information an associate has an access to through books is standard, unlike Google, where you might get tons of information and the associate needs to actually make some sense of this information. So in that respect, books has been fantastic. Now coming to the informal learning part, which I touched upon earlier, more and more, if you look at the younger generation, the millennials, more and more people are getting bored with sitting in a classroom. You make them sit in a classroom for 8 hours, 9 hours. People get bored. They said, "We're wasting our time here. What are we doing here? These things I could have done it on my own." So informal learning is actually picking up. People are trying to learn on their own because they have these varied assets available to them. And that's why we also make provisions within our learning enterprise to ensure that people have access to different assets. If somebody wants to attend a classroom, yes, he has an access to classroom. If somebody wants to do books, wants to just read some books, he has an access to that. If somebody just wants to do a course, they just have an access to a course. Or if somebody just wants to go and look at some informal knowledge asset which somebody has created on a particular topic, he has an access to that as well. So which is completely unstructured learning. Now we haven't started yet measuring it, but then we know that this happens. This is proven because we keep tracking the knowledge assets. We also keep tracking books usage, and it's always been going up. So we can confidently say that we in TCS associates are using these assets to actually gain knowledge.